I thought I just had to make it through the final night shift. But then, why did the CCTV capture a woman walking through every floor when all doors were locked from the inside? Building number 7, once a bustling government office, now abandoned and marked for demolition. I was assigned as the last night guard. A quiet shift or so, I believed, until it turned into something that clawed its way from beyond. Warning. The following story contains disturbing imagery, supernatural implications, an increasing sense of being watched, and a mystery that's remained buried for over 30 years. Do not proceed if you're alone, or if your lights just flickered. The basement wasn't as dark as I thought, but it wasn't bright either. The dim light seemed to ooze from the decaying walls themselves. There were no bulbs, no windows, just a sourceless glow enough to see, yet making me wish I couldn't. The floor was no longer the familiar wooden steps. I was standing on something like icy cement damp and carrying a strange scent. Not mold, not typical humidity. It was metallic and sweet like dried blood. I moved forward, though I couldn't remember taking a step. My hand traced the left wall. It felt slick like moss, or worse, like cold, soft skin. I passed through the first door. It had no handle, just a touch, and it opened, revealing a child's room. Toys scattered. A flickering, pale yellow light. In the corner, a small bed with faded cartoon sheets. On it, a stuffed bear. I recognized it. Her bear. I froze. A lump swelled in my throat. I couldn't remember her face, but I knew I'd seen that bear in her hands, sometimes in photos, sometimes in fragmented memories. A small sound echoed like a giggle. I spun around. No one. But the bear was no longer lying still. Now it rested at the edge of the bed facing me, though I was sure it had been in the middle just a moment ago. I stepped back gently, pulling the door closed, not daring to slam it, afraid something might hear. The next room was a kitchen, no, a dining room. A long table, chairs lined up neatly, porcelain dishes, old and chipped. A wall clock no longer ticking yet. The sound of ticking echoed faintly. On one plate sat a birthday cake, a candle still burning, the number 7. Had I once thrown a birthday party for her, I moved toward the cake. The candle went out. No wind, then footsteps above. Light, like a child. A whisper in my ear, "You're late." I turned. No one there. The room was different now, the dining table gone, just chairs scattered, and in the corner sat a child back-facing me. Long hair, slender shoulders, small feet dangling off the edge. I stepped closer, trembling. "Sweetheart." The child didn't turn. I touched her shoulder. She slumped forward, hollow, headless. I screamed, but no sound left my mouth. A shadow darted past the hallway. I chased it, no reason why. Just that I had to. The hallway opened into another room. The living room, a TV, old sofa, a family photo on the wall. I saw myself in it, but my eyes were crossed out in black ink. Someone had erased me from my own picture. I backed away. An old mirror hung in the corner. I saw myself, but not quite. The reflection was paler, the eyes sunken like endless pits. But it smiled. A twisted grin like it had been sewn shut with black thread. I held my breath. The figure didn't mimic me. It stood still. I raised my hand. It didn't follow. I lowered it, still unmoving, still smiling. I turned to run, but the hallway had become a spiral staircase leading deeper. I didn't know where I was anymore. Not a basement, not a house, just memories, not false, not true, just unclear. I kept going down. One more room. Wider, darker, wooden floorboards, damp and slick. A table, a notebook on top. I opened it, scribbled in blood-red ink, and left me behind. I collapsed. Fragments of memory flooded in like the tide. Her cries, me locking the door, me walking away, the fire, the old house. Everyone said it was an accident, but I remembered hearing her screams behind that door, and I didn't go back. Years of denial, calling it false memory, trauma, but this basement wouldn't let me lie anymore. I saw the charred doll on the shelf, her white dress from that day soaked muddy, stained with blood. Footsteps behind me. I turned. She was there. No longer the same, but I knew it was her. Sunken black eyes, waxen face, but her hands, still small, just like back then. She reached out. You came. I collapsed, tears streaming. I'm sorry. I was just so scared. She said nothing. I picked up the notebook and began writing, line after line. My confession. I wrote until my hands trembled too much to continue. She stood there watching me, then turned and led the way out. I followed. A door opened. Blinding white light poured in. I walked forward. She never looked back. Only when I was about to step into the light did I glance over my shoulder. The room was empty, and the notebook still on the rotting table, blood-stained. No one left. I woke up. In my bed, everything quiet, but on the nightstand, something that didn't belong. The stuffed bear, its ear charred. I looked down the hallway. The mirror at the end reflected my shadow, but I wasn't smiling. The shadow was. I jolted awake, soaked in cold sweat. My heart pounded, throat dry as dust. Just a nightmare. It had to be. My apartment. Dim, familiar, no basement, no burnt dress, no spiral staircase. Only one thing was wrong. On the nightstand sat the old stuffed bear, one ear charred just like in the dream. I never owned this toy, I was sure of it, and I stepped out of bed, the floor icy beneath my bare feet, the door creaked though no breeze stirred, and down the hall the mirror. In it my reflection stood, but not me. It was pale, still smiling a wrong kind of smile. Lips tugged upward like they'd been stitched. Eyes pitch black. I turned to look behind me. No one. Back at the mirror, the figure was gone, but the bear remained. A reminder. Some doors once opened never truly close. And sometimes, the ones we leave behind aren't waiting to be forgiven. They're waiting to be remembered.
Thank you for staying with me until the very end. In a world where time is precious and peace is rare, you chose to spend these haunted minutes walking beside me, through shadowed hallways, creaking stairs, and forgotten memories. I hope this story sent a chill down your spine, or at least made you glance twice at the dark corner of the room. Until next time, sleep well. If you can.